Benches were mostly empty, save for one occupied by a figure bundled in a worn army surplus coat, a faded beanie pulled low over his ears. To the regular joggers and city patrol officers, he was simply Arthur, a quiet, homeless man who kept to himself, a fixture by the old oak tree for weeks. His world was a frayed backpack and the careful rhythm of survival. On this particular morning, that rhythm was shattered by the aggressive approach of two city police officers, their expressions a mix of irritation and procedural boredom. A complaint had been filed by a nervous new condo resident overlooking the park, suspicious person, potential trespassing. Arthur, whose real name was a ghost in a classified file, offered only mute resistance, his eyes downcast as calloused hands were cuffed behind his back. He didn't speak, didn't protest his treatment as he was escorted to a squad car, his entire demeanor one of weary defeat. At the precinct, he was processed as a John Doe, his fingerprints rolling onto the digital scanner. He was placed in a stark holding cell, the door clanging shut with a sound of finality. The officers wrote their report, another mundane incident in a long day. They had no way of knowing that the moment his fingerprints hit the database, a silent, high-priority alert flashed in a secure facility in Virginia, a red flag that bypassed every normal channel and screamed directly to a specific, elite desk. The fluorescent lights of the precinct buzzed overhead, casting a sickly glow. Arthur sat on the hard bench in his cell, posture slumped but senses hyper-alert. He tracked the comings and goings of officers, the timing of patrol changes, the location of every camera. His silence was misread as disorientation. Meanwhile, the arresting officer, Sergeant Miller, was at his terminal finishing the report when his screen froze, then went black. A moment later, a simple command line prompt appeared. Before he could react, his desk phone rang. The voice on the other end was clipped, devoid of emotion, and identified itself as Homeland Security. They demanded immediate confirmation of the individual in custody cell 3 and ordered a total lockdown of the facility, no one in or out. Miller's protest died in his throat as he looked out the window and saw two unmarked black Suburbans, their engines idling, block the precinct's rear entrance. Men in dark suits emerged, their bearing rigid and purposeful. They moved through the precinct like a cold front, bypassing the front desk with a flash of credentials that made the captain pale. They went straight to the holding area. The lead agent, a man with ice-gray eyes, looked through the bars at the disheveled figure. For the first time, Arthur looked up, and a silent, profound recognition passed between them. The agent said one word, audible only to the prisoner: Frost. The man in the cell gave an almost imperceptible nod. The city cops watched, utterly bewildered, as the agents uncuffed their prisoner with a deference reserved for dignitaries. The back of the Suburban was silent, the partition up. The agent who had spoken, introduced as Carlson, handed Frost a secure satellite phone. Frost's voice, unused for weeks, was gravelly but clear as he reported, "Package is secure. Observation period is compromised." The homeless operation, it emerged, was a deep cover surveillance detail. Frost had been planted to monitor a dead-drop location used by a sleeper cell, the very park bench he'd called home. The nervous condo resident who'd called the police was an unfortunate variable. The safe house Frost was taken to was a nondescript apartment in a quiet neighborhood. There, under hot water and in clean clothes, the persona of Arthur melted away, revealing a man etched with the ghosts of missions in forgotten cities. Carlson debriefed him. The cell had gone silent, spooked by the police activity. The mission was awash. Frost, however, had seen something in his final days on the bench, a recurring vehicle, a pattern to the trash left in a specific bin. He relayed this, his analytical mind piecing together clues the back-end analysts had missed. The data was cross-referenced, and a new picture emerged. The cell was active, just more cautious. Frost's intimate, ground-level intelligence provided the crucial pivot. He was offered extraction, a desk, debriefing. He refused. "They've seen my face as Arthur," he stated. "They won't see me coming as anyone else." The agency reluctantly agreed. A new legend was built, not as a homeless man, but as a maintenance worker for the city's parks department. A week later, the park was normal on the surface. Frost, in a city worker's uniform, quietly serviced a drinking fountain near his old bench. He saw the signal, a specific gum wrapper in the bin, that indicated a dead drop was active. His replacement surveillance team was in place, but Frost, with his unique familiarity, spotted the courier first, a young woman walking a dog, who paused to tie her shoe near a specific route. Frost gave a subtle hand signal. The takedown was swift and silent. The sleeper cell was rolled up within hours, based on the evidence retrieved. At the precinct, Sergeant Miller received a sealed, hand-delivered letter. It contained no classified information, only a simple sentence. "Thank you for your vigilance." A standard debriefing at Langley was clinical. Frost sat in a secure room, recounting every detail of his time as Arthur. When asked why he insisted on going back, he was quiet for a moment. "The ground truth isn't in data streams," he said finally. "It's in the patterns of pigeons, the routines of joggers, the way trash collects. You have to live it to see it." He was offered a period of mandated leave. He accepted, but not for rest. He drove back to the city, not to the park, but to a shelter where he knew some of Arthur's acquaintances stayed. He made a large, anonymous donation to the organization, specifying it be used for vocational training. He then drove out of the city, the identities of both Arthur and Agent Frost receding in his rearview mirror, another ghost returning to the shadows, waiting for the next time the nation needed a man who could become invisible.